We spoke quite recently about Police Scotland and the almost £20 million that they have spent on trying to be the first police force in the country with or in the UK with a fully electric fleet of police vehicles. In fact, so far, more than 20 Police Scotland police stations have fleets of electric vehicles. But unfortunately, Police Scotland hasn't been quite keeping up with the fleet of electric vehicles by installing enough charging points to keep them going. Research by the Scottish Lib Dems have found out via a Freedom of Information request that although more than 20 police stations have electric vehicle fleets, the exact number isn't disclosed in the information I have found, however, 23 stations do not have charging points to keep the vehicle batteries topped up. So more than 20 stations have fleets of electric vehicles, but 23 of those stations have no way of keeping the vehicles charged. Just to put that into perspective. I mean, you really couldn't make this shit up. In fact, one police officer is alleged to have said that police electric vehicles were being left overnight in council car parks as a result in order to use their charging points. Following the Scottish Lib Dem's FOI, they had spoken to police officers about the situation. One of the officers they spoke to said, "Where I work, they gave us 5 new electric vehicles, but no charging point. They've had to charge them via one cable through an office window and into a domestic 3-point socket. Guess what happened to the socket? Now the 5 vehicles are being deposited overnight in various council car parks across the town in the hope that no damage comes to them. Meanwhile, we are back to using the old diesel cars because at least we know where the service station is." The Lib Dems claimed it was proof that Scottish Government was not investing sufficient money in the police service. Of course, they aren't, because they don't want to spend money that could be better used in their own pockets, but they have to appear to be doing something with the majority of the funding. Liam MacArthur, Liberal Democrat Justice spokesman, said there is absolutely no point in spending millions on providing officers with electric cars without the tools to power them. Police officers having to attempt to charge cars from an office cable through a window makes an absolute mockery of the government's pledges to tackle climate change. Officers can't afford to be broken down miles from the nearest charging station when they are responding to urgent calls and trying to get on with the job of making Scotland safe. Right now, charging stations are few and far between. When people do find one, there's a good chance it may be broken down or already occupied. The Scottish Government have consistently failed to invest in the resources that a 21st century police service needs. We need to work towards a greener Scotland and enforce law and order efficiently across the country. These are 2 equally important priorities, and one should not be diluting the other. The Scottish Government should be leading the way by ensuring that every newly purchased public sector vehicle is climate friendly and installing the charging infrastructure to make that happen. A Police Scotland spokeswoman said, "Modernising our fleet is an integral part of our fleet strategy as we aim to be more efficient, effective and sustainable 21st century police service. We are currently rolling out EV charging infrastructure to all sites that our electric vehicles operate from. Whilst this work is ongoing, we have ensured that none of our electric vehicles are used for urgent call roles and are utilised for general purpose or non-response roles. Our strategy is to utilise our own network as well as the public and partnership network, and therefore we do not issue electric vehicles to areas that cannot operate using a combination of these." Now, whilst I don't disagree with treating our planet a little better, I do find it hard to believe that police forces and other government institutions are really as concerned about climate change as they like to make out, or whether this is simply an attempt to misguide us into thinking that they are actually doing themselves what they are trying to force us to do. I mean, It's not like those in power are really taking this whole carbon emissions thing seriously when they themselves continue to jet around the world and drive their own gas guzzlers. I really don't want this report to turn into a political one, so let's get back to the police and their attempts to pretend that they actually give a shit. I mean, it's all very well saying that the electric vehicles won't be used for urgent call roles and are utilised for general purpose or non-response roles, but what is the point of that exactly? What's the point of spending £20 million of taxpayers' money on vehicles that actually do not benefit the public who are paying for it? In fact, if they're taking more combustion engines off the road in place of electric vehicles, then surely, as they won't be used for urgent calls, then there are now and will be less combustion engine vehicles available to attend urgent calls, which would mean the public will be left to suffer from the lack of units available to attend incidents on emergency response. Personally, I think if you're a crook, the time is right to head to Scotland with less emergency response vehicles available to come out and get you. You should be able to clean up north of the border. Now, of course, I'm joking. I'm not suggesting for a moment that anybody go to Scotland and commit any criminal offences. There's enough police in Scotland to do that already. But this virtue signalling over climate change has certainly not been well thought out, in my opinion. With the police's priority taken away from doing what they are supposed to be doing, which is policing, which is protecting people and property, and more focused on being inclusive, being carbon neutral, being diverse. How the fuck does any of that result in more crimes solved, more criminals behind bars, and more people seeing justice for wrongs against them? I don't see how it can.